Hello, welcome to Universities UK Innovation and Growth webcast. My name is Greg Wade.
And I'm Kevin Richardson from the Higher Education Funding Council for England.
And the topic we're discussing is the changes to business rates. Kevin, what is proposed?
Well, at his party political conference earlier in the autumn, the Chancellor, George Osborne, I think surprised many people in the middle of his speech when he announced that there will be legislation brought forward to localise 100% of business rates to local areas. And what that means is, whereas in the current system, the business rates which are collected at a local level, at the moment part of those stay with the local authority, the rest are sent off to London, and then through a magic formula of Harry Potter type complexities, it's then redistributed back to local government.
Right.
And it's a significant part of local government finance.
Okay.
And the intention being with the new legislation to ensure 100% of the business rates are kept at that local level.
Right. Now, here's a question. Is it going to be simple to implement?
The easy answer, Greg, is no. It will be extremely complicated. Just to give you an example of the scale of the challenge facing the government, the Borough of Westminster in London, where I think we're based today, the value of business rates collected in that one borough is almost the same as the top 8 other British cities in England.
Really?
Yeah. So there will be enormous challenges of how to square this circle between the localisation of 100% of business rates, whilst at the same time having to have some degree of redistribution and some element of equity.
Yeah.
Because clearly differences of that scale can't be managed if it was purely done on the basis of where the business rate is paid, that's where it's spent.
Yeah.
But I think it's very clear the government are keen to move on this, and further references were made by the Chancellor in his spending review speech, and again in the detailed spending review documents. So we can expect proposals very shortly.
Okay, that's helpful. A helpful description.
Yeah.
What do you think of the implications for universities?
Well, let us assume that the Chancellor's aspirations are delivered in the large, if not complete part.
Yeah.
Well, I think the general trends we'd be looking at is certainly at that local level a greater prominence and debate and visibility about who pays business rates, how much are paid. So that prominence, I think, is very likely to feature. And we're also perhaps, and if we think about what's the Chancellor trying to achieve here, he's trying to deliver different ways of thinking and acting by driving new motivations, in effect to drive growth.
Yeah.
And I think those motivations the change in motivations will begin to look at how existing assets are valued. Of course, there's a complicated system that's evolved through many years. And of course, universities benefit from particular discounts because of the charitable nature of much of their work. So a discussion perhaps about, well, why do you receive a discount for that particular activity and the university in the next district doesn't?
Yeah.
And I think we're also likely to see, and this is the more important aspect, new motivations around future developments. And how might a local authority, and of course many whom are under very difficult financial pressure at the moment, how might they view the future development of their area? Would they rather see an office block built, which will generate lots of business rates, or would they rather see student housing?
Yeah.
So those difficult challenges will need to be addressed, I think.
And there could be unexpected consequences.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay. We've talked about the implications for universities. What challenges or opportunities do you think it would create for the relationships that universities have?
Well, I think there's a risk, and it depends very much upon how the legislation is designed, that we could see more adversarial relationships, not just between universities and the valuation authority and the local authority, but more generally across the different stakeholders, the business community more generally. I think that will be something that needs to be avoided. So how best do we ensure that as we move to this new system, local partnerships and the different actors and the business community, and by that I mean for this purposes universities included, form a more strategic and a more partnership-based approach over the longer term. Because otherwise I think there is that risk of an adversarial type relationship. Certainly something to be avoided.
Yeah. So that's one recommendation for what universities could do. Do you have other recommendations?
Well, I think certainly universities should be looking to follow the legislation. It would be, I rather suspect, would be rather complex. And where it's appropriate, they may wish to inform that legislation and lobby where necessary.
Yeah.
And that's part of the process, isn't it? I think the next issue that universities might want to do is perhaps to try to assess, even at this early stage, that both the potential risks but also the potential opportunities of what's being proposed. Because when we look at universities' investment plans, clearly they don't happen overnight. It's 2, 3, 5 years period at which major investment proposals are brought forward, by which time, of course, the new system will be in place. So, it's too late to wait for your new site development to be complete before you start thinking about this. So now's the time to try and weigh up, do some modelling and try to work out what both the risks and the opportunities are.
Well, I think that's a really helpful set of pointers for something universities really do need to get their head around.
Yeah, and certainly those universities with major investment plans over the course of the next 5 years. And we saw, some very interesting and very positive data in the recent HEFCE report on the state of the financial health of the sector.
Yes, I think the figure was 15 billion.
15 billion. So, those universities with major investment plans now, my recommendation, you need some early discussions with your local partners, with the business community and with the local authority and the valuation authority about how best to take these forward. Even if at this stage we don't necessarily know the detailed outcome of the legislation. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, we'll be posting the video on the YouTube channel. Please do post any comments or questions if you have them. But in the meantime, thank you, Kevin.
And thank you, Greg.